In Utaki, a remote Cambodian village cradled by Battambang's rice fields, the ghost lake hides a chilling secret. Sokun, returning to his grandmother's crumbling home near the cursed waters, scoffs at tales of a vengeful spirit, but eerie dripping, clawing scratches and a ghastly figure, matted hair, half-jawed with oozing hollow eyes, shatter his skepticism. Malleka, murdered 50 years ago, stalks Sokun, her rancid whispers tying him to his grandfather's betrayal. As nightmares worsen and his grandmother bears unnatural wounds, Sokun faces Malleka's monstrous form. Can a desperate ritual break the curse, or is Sokun hers forever? Shadows of the haunted lake. In the remote village of Utaki, nestled deep in the rice fields and palm groves of Battambang, Cambodia, whispers of terror clung to the air like damp mist. The village was quiet, almost too quiet, especially after dusk when the wind carried eerie moans and the faint stench of decay from a place no one dared mention aloud: the Ghost Lake. This murky body of water hidden at the village's edge was said to be cursed, a gateway to a vengeful spirit whose presence chilled the hearts of even the bravest souls. Sokun, a 25-year-old man, returned to Utaki after a decade in Phnom Penh. He came to stay with his aging grandmother in her crumbling wooden house, its walls scarred with strange claw marks and its roof sagging under the weight of time. The house stood perilously close to the Ghost Lake, a place villagers avoided with hushed warnings. Sokun, a skeptic who scoffed at superstitions, dismissed their tales of a spectral figure who haunted the lake. To him, they were just stories to scare children. But the village had other plans for him. On his first night, Sokun awoke to the sound of dripping water, as though someone had dragged a wet cloth across the floor. His heart thudded as he heard faint scratching, nails scraping against wood coming from the walls. Rising from his mat, he followed the sound to a cracked window overlooking the lake. Under the pale moonlight, the water shimmered unnaturally, and there, standing in the center of the lake, was a figure. She was no ordinary woman. Her long, matted hair hung like black vines, dripping with sludge that seemed to writhe like worms. Her tattered silk dress, once white, was stained with dark, oozing patches that pulsed as if alive. Her face was a grotesque mask. Half her jaw was missing, exposing jagged teeth, and her eyes were hollow sockets that wept a viscous black liquid. She raised a skeletal hand pointing directly at Sokun, and her lipless mouth twitched into a grotesque smile. A guttural whisper slithered through the air. "Sokun, you cannot hide." Sokun slammed the window shut, his hands trembling. He told himself it was a trick of the mind, but as he turned, he froze. Wet footprints, reeking of rot, trailed from the window to his bed, stopping inches from where he stood. Something cold brushed his neck, and a voice hissed in his ear. "You belong to me now." He spun around, nothing. Yet the air grew heavy, suffocating, as if invisible hands were pressing against his chest. The next morning, Sokun confronted his grandmother about the lake. Her face paled and her voice quivered as she spoke of Malleka, a young woman who died there 50 years ago. Malleka was beautiful, with eyes like polished jade, but her life ended in tragedy. Some said she drowned herself in despair. Others whispered of murder. What everyone agreed on was that her spirit never left. Those who ventured too close to the lake at night either vanished or returned, raving about a woman with no face, her screams echoing in their minds. Sokun, determined to unravel the truth, sought out Ta Sok, an old fisherman whose hands shook as he recounted Malleka's story. She had been pregnant, in love with a powerful man in the village who betrayed her. Ta Sok's voice dropped to a whisper. She cursed him before she died, swore that his bloodline would pay for her pain. And now, you're here. Sokun laughed nervously, but the old man's eyes bored into him. You carry his blood, boy, she knows. That night, Sokun's dreams twisted into horrors. He stood at the lake's edge, the water bubbling like boiling tar. Malleka emerged, her decayed flesh peeling away to reveal writhing maggots beneath. Her eyeless sockets locked onto him, and she lunged, her bony fingers sinking into his chest. Your blood is mine, she shrieked, her voice a cacophony of tortured souls. Sokun woke gasping, his shirt soaked in sweat, or was it water? His room reeked of decay, and on the wall, scrawled in what looked like congealed blood, were the words, "Pay me." He ran to his grandmother's room only to find her convulsing on the floor, her arms covered in deep scratches that oozed a foul black liquid. Her eyes rolled back and she muttered, "Malleka, she's coming. For all of us." Sokun tried to wake her, but the room grew colder and the shadows seemed to pulse. From the corner of his eye, he saw Malleka's silhouette flicker in the doorway. Her head tilted unnaturally, her jaw unhinging to release a swarm of buzzing flies. He screamed, and the vision vanished, but the scratches on his grandmother's arms were all too real. By the third night, Sokun could no longer deny the truth. Armed with a flashlight and a knife, he marched to the ghost lake, driven by a mix of fear and defiance. The air grew thick with the stench of death as he approached. The lake's surface churned violently as if something massive writhed beneath. A low guttural moan filled the air, followed by the sound of snapping bones. Malleka appeared, more horrific than before. Her body was now a twisted mockery of humanity. Her spine arched backward, her limbs elongated and spider-like. Her dress hung in shreds, revealing a gaping hole in her chest where a still-beating heart pulsed, leaking black ichor. Clutched in her arms was the spectral form of a child, its flesh melted like wax, its mouth stretched into a silent scream. "You!" Malleka roared, her voice shaking the ground. "Your blood owes me life." Sokun tried to run, but the ground turned to mud, sucking at his feet. Roots burst from the earth, coiling around his legs like serpents. Malleka glided closer, her decayed fingers brushing his face, leaving trails of burning pain. "Your grandfather watched me die," she hissed, her breath rancid. "He pushed me into the water, laughing as I begged. Now you will join me." Visions flooded Sokun's mind. His grandfather, young and cruel, standing at the lake's edge as Malleka flailed, her pregnant belly sinking beneath the waves. He saw the villagers who knew, who helped bury the truth out of fear. And he saw himself marked by a curse he never chose. Sokun broke free as dawn's first light pierced the darkness, weakening Malleka's grip. He stumbled back to the village, his body covered in welts and his mind fraying. He confronted the elders, demanding the truth. Under pressure, they admitted that his grandfather had orchestrated Malleka's death, fearing her pregnancy would ruin his reputation. The village had turned a blind eye, and her curse had festered ever since. Determined to end the nightmare, Sokun organized a massive ritual at the lake. Monks chanted, incense burned, and offerings were made to appease Malleka's spirit. As the ceremony peaked, the lake grew still and a faint wail echoed before fading. The villagers sighed in relief, believing the curse lifted. But Sokun wasn't convinced. That night, as he packed to leave Utaki, he found a small, waterlogged doll on his doorstep, its eyes crudely scratched out. The air grew cold and the same guttural whisper returned, "You can never leave me." He fled the village at sunrise, vowing never to return. Weeks later, villagers reported strange occurrences, crops wilting overnight, animals vanishing, and shadows moving in the lake's reflection. Some claimed to see Malleka at dusk, her eyeless gaze fixed on the horizon, as if waiting for Sokun's return. And in Phnom Penh, Sokun woke each night to the sound of dripping water, his dreams haunted by a voice that promised, "Your blood will always be mine."